the last train from the old station. There was a time when railway stations were not just places of departure. They were living theaters. Great iron ribs arched overhead, holding up roofs of glass darkened by soot, rain, and years of breath. Beneath them, the platforms rang with life. Not the hollow noise of today, but a deeper sound, boots on stone, porters calling across the steam, horses shifting outside in the yard, and the hard iron clatter of wheels as handcarts were dragged up and down the platform. The carts came heavily, loaded with trunks, boxes, parcels, hat cases, sacks of mail, and the private belongings of lives about to change direction. Their iron wheels struck every joint in the paving with a rhythm that seemed older than the railway itself. Clack, clack, clack. A porter leaned his shoulder into the weight, cap low, waistcoat darkened with damp, hands rough from rope, coal dust, and cold mornings. He knew every train by its sound before it appeared. He knew which passengers would tip, which would complain, and which poor soul was traveling because there was no other choice. Steam drifted beneath the roof like weather trapped indoors. It curled around lampposts, swallowed faces, then revealed them again, a woman clutching a child by the hand, a soldier standing too still, a young man pretending not to be afraid. An old couple sat beside their luggage as though they had packed their whole life into 2 leather cases. The station clock watched them all. No one argued with that clock. It ruled the platform with a quiet authority. Beneath it, people kissed goodbye, shook hands, waved handkerchiefs, swallowed tears, and stepped into futures they could not yet understand. Then came the whistle. Sharp, final, almost cruel. The engine breathed like some black animal at the head of the train, its brass fittings dulled by smoke, its body warm and ticking with pressure. Coalmen moved like shadows near the tender. The driver leaned from the cab, face lined by heat and weather. Somewhere, a door slammed. Somewhere else, a guard raised his flag, and still the carts moved. Iron wheels over stone. Clack, clack, clack. There were newspaper boys weaving through the crowd, calling headlines into the steam. Clerks with umbrellas, mothers with baskets, gentlemen with polished shoes trying not to step in the soot-black puddles, servant girls traveling to houses they had never seen, children staring wide-eyed at the engine as though it had come from another world. And perhaps it had, because the railway changed everything. It shrank distance. It carried grief, ambition, industry, poverty, letters, livestock, soldiers, lovers, criminals, dreamers, and the dead. It pulled the quiet village into the noise of the world and carried the city's hunger into the countryside. But in those old Victorian stations, there was still dignity in the movement. Even hurry had shape. The porters did not drift about aimlessly. The passengers did not stare into glowing screens. They watched. They listened. They felt the moment they were in. Every departure mattered, because distance still meant something. A goodbye was not softened by a message sent seconds later. Once the train pulled away, silence returned with weight. The guard's whistle blew again. Doors slammed down the length of the train. A hand lifted from a window. A child cried. The engine answered with a deep metallic sigh. Then the pistons moved. Slowly at first, as though the whole machine was gathering its thoughts. The couplings tightened one by one, each carriage giving a small, reluctant jolt. Then the wheels turned, steel on steel, a sound like history beginning to move. The platform slid past the windows, faces blurred behind glass, handkerchiefs fluttered. A porter stood back with his cart, breathing hard, watching another piece of the world leave without him. Then the train was gone, only steam remained. It hung under the roof, drifting among the beams, softening the gas lamps, settling on the platform stones. The station seemed suddenly larger without the train in it, quieter, almost sorrowful, but not empty, because another train would come, another crowd would gather, more trunks would arrive, more wheels would clatter, more lives would pause beneath the old clock before being carried away into fog, fields, cities, factories, war, marriage, work, exile, or home. That was the strange beauty of the Victorian station. It was never only about travel. It was about threshold. 1 foot in the known world, 1 foot in the unknown. And all around it, the sounds of an age that believed in movement, iron, labor, smoke, purpose, and time. The old stations were built like cathedrals for leaving, their arches lifted above ordinary people as though even departure deserved grandeur. Their platforms held the smell of coal smoke, wet wool, leather, horse sweat, hot oil, and rain. Their walls heard secrets, promises, lies, prayers, and final words. And beneath it all, that sound remained. The sound of porters and parcels, of effort and industry, of lives being shifted from one place to another. Iron wheels on stone, clack, clack, clack. And if you stand in one of those old stations today, when the crowds have thinned and the modern noise falls away, you can almost hear it again. Not loudly, not clearly, but somewhere beneath the present. A cart being dragged along the platform, a whistle in the steam, a voice calling from another age. And for a moment, the past does not feel gone, only waiting.